Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hello.
Coach's Corner. How's everybody doing?
Welcome. Awesome. Amazing.
Great. I love it. I love it. Welcome to this amazing episode or session of Coach's Corner, where we talk about and not only profound material, but we have different perspectives, tons of experience. And just we haven't seen props in a while, but I think Alicia will have some props for us today that will move mountains. Not only the mountains in your mind, but also the mountain in Paul's background as well. So, this is, as you can tell, we're here to shift your vibration as well. Vibration is the law of everything. So, without further ado, I actually forgot to put my own name up here. I'm certified coach Jamel Matias, certified mindset success coach / business consultant. My purpose is to reveal the hidden potential that's already within you and guide you to your truest desires. So I work with individuals, entrepreneurs, other online coaches as well, and businesses, and just help you achieve the greatness that you have inside with whatever it is that you desire. So I'm going to pass it along. And actually, I'm traveling right now. I'm still in Virginia. Well, I'm in Virginia right now, Southern Virginia, and I'll pass it on to my amazing colleague, Paul.
Oh, thank you, Jamel, and good morning, good afternoon if you're with Alicia. And my name is Paul Wooters. I'm in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. A success mindset coach, Proctor Gallagher consultant, recently appointed as the director of inner potential and personal mastery at the World Life Education Center in high school. Thank you, Lou. And there was a time when I felt kind of stuck. I thought, I was thinking positive, setting goals, but the results weren't matching. And now, through this fabulous material, I help you and I devote myself to helping you create the life you want, to help you achieve your most elusive personal and professional goals, and to become the person that you truly were meant to be, to do the things that you want to do, to live to your greatest possibilities. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Lou Parica.
Well, thank you, Paul. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Lou Parica. I am a success mindset coach, certified Proctor Gallagher consultant. And I help guide and support growth-minded women who may feel a little stuck or unfulfilled. And I help them reconnect with their inner truth by gaining clarity and confidence and the courage to finally take inspired action towards the life that they feel that is aligned, prosperous, and purposeful. And I'm so grateful to have you here and to be with my colleagues. Alicia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alicia Espinosa. I am in Sweden, and I help. sorry, I help people to create a life that feels good on the inside, that is in alignment with their values, and also I help leaders to create to be leaders worth following. Yes,
I love it.
that's me.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. Grateful for each and every one of you. And, it's so awesome to share this material and just kind of dive in for ourselves as well, because when you fill your cup up, you're able to give to another.
Mhm.
And, what's so important about this, this is so, it spoke to me in so many different levels. And I know each and every one of us were like, wow, this applies to me. I've been doing this, or I've done this. And I'm sure everyone here that's tuning in live, you will be impacted by what we have to share today. And always feel free to just drop some comments, engage with us, reach out to us personally if you want to, especially if something speaks to you here, because life is so short. Why live it in reverse? Oh, I'm so good today. So and we're all good. We're all good. right? And you will experience that while watching this. So let's just dive right in. What in the world is don't think in reverse? What is thinking, right? So I'll start here with something right off the top here that I spoke to me. Not only the poem, but it was something I heard and I didn't know it was Leland. Let us not look back in anger nor forward in fear, but around us in awareness. Leland Val Vanderwall.
Mhm.
And that really jumped out to me because I didn't really know what thinking in reverse really meant, and my awesome colleague Lou said it sounded like reverse engineering. And it's in truth something like that, isn't it? Because you're engineering your own life based on your past. So this little quote here, this grand quote, let us not look back in anger. So breaking that down, angry because of things that happened, living in regret or just revisiting negative memories of the past is totally counterproductive. And then it said, nor forward in fear. Wow, that can be seen in different ways. But how many people always focus on something they don't want to happen in the future? All of us here can name at least 5 people, and including ourselves sometimes, right? So, but around us in awareness. What is awareness? Oh, I what I get from that is being aware of who you are and your own potential, and awareness of what you're creating with your own mind and your own thinking. And it was just so small and cute, but potent with power and understanding. So anyway, I thought I'll start with that because I think that was a really good little. I keep saying little because it's not a whole paragraph, it's not a whole book, but you can really dissect it for a whole hour here. I know I can. Anybody want to talk about this? Anybody want to share any thoughts?
Well, I'll start. So, Born Rich, which is the title of the book that we're studying, and right now we're on I think chapter 9, right?
Yep.
Stop thinking in reverse. But just to think of the title alone, Born Rich. Now, does that mean that you're born into a wealthy family or with the silver spoon in your mouth? No. But what it means is you were born with God-given potential. Every one of us. But it's up to us to develop our awareness. This is what personal development is about, right? It's developing and expanding our awareness of that potential. So it just makes it easier to build images and ideas and remove those mental blocks. But thinking in reverse from the title of this particular chapter is being stuck living in the past. And as you mentioned, Jamel, there are a few people that I can name, and I definitely would have been one of those people that kind of lives in the past ish, right? I mean, you're moving forward, but you can bring up stories, boom, like that. And I remember they did that, and they can go into detail. And then they did this, and then they said that, and then I said this, and then they did that. And it's quite amazing when I'm with people or, overhear people, the detail and the energy they give to a past experience instead of letting that experience, if it wasn't something positive or memorable, or you didn't actually learn from it, and just leave it there, but to spend that energy and not use it in the current, right now, and creating what it is that you do want, focusing your energy on what you do want to create, because focusing on the negative or the past really disrupts the flow of energy that is needed to create new ideas, right? To get excited about new things. So this is what we're talking about today. But I was definitely one of those people. I was stuck in the what was instead of what could be. And this is what the four of us have all studied, because I'm sure all of us have been there at some point. We were stuck on the what was, and we kept trying to fix the what was instead of just leaving it there and then creating something new. Alicia.
Yeah, I have a prompt here. Let me play.
Yay.
I want a
You
prop.
you remember
Look at this.
that I presented this before. It's like a shadow,
Yeah.
you know. So when we live in reverse, we are in the shadow of the past. Like we don't create from our desires or what our souls want, but from the shadow of the past. And it's always there to keep us, if you always focus on what it was, you always will be a result or a product of something that already have before. So it will be not any new thing. And sometimes we use the past to keep us in the comfort zone,
Mhm.
not to go and let the our heart or our soul speak, because we are always in the shadow, because we don't let our when we let the past control us, we are in the shadows, or all our abilities or knowledge, your talents are in the shadow of the past.
Mm.
So I think that this is, and what happens is that when we do that, it's more like we can be a victim of the circumstances, instead of, you know um, go for things that we want, the desire, what we really desire inside us. So and I also tell you before, I have this is like a poncho, and this is my victim poncho. So I put this on me, and I say, now I'm going to be a victim. I will hate everybody. I will hate it, circumstances, and I will cry and I will die. But the things that this will do is that I make the decision when I am the victim, not letting the circumstances let me all the time live in the shadows of the past.
Mm.
Yeah, those are excellent points, Alicia and Lou. Because as Lou said, I know a number of people that, they can recall things from 1975 in great detail, and it's great to rehash and joke about things, but they're so handcuffed to the past, right? And this chapter really emphasizes the importance of directing your mind and your energy toward the thing that you want rather than what you don't want. And Bob explains that many people sabotage their progress by constantly thinking in reverse, focusing on the past mistakes, focusing on the current limitations and the fears, as Jamel said in that quote, fearing about the future. Like we imagine all the things that might go wrong. Rather, why is that our default? And and this chapter, I think, really defines the title of the book, "You Were Born Rich," because it goes on to say that we are all born with the same tools that the great inventors had, that the Wright brothers had, that Bell had, that Edison had, and if you think of anyone that's creating anything right now, we have the same tools, and we have the God-given potential that we owe it to ourselves. It says in this book we owe it to ourselves to nurture that potential. We have so many gifts, and not to living so much in the past about our mistakes. And in that opening poem too, it's all about self-forgiveness, forgiving ourselves, forgiving ourselves for any past mistakes, forgive ourselves for the things that we didn't do yesterday. And here's a new opportunity. Here's a fresh day today. Here's a new opportunity to do the things that you want, to think forward about what you do want, and not to be creatures of being so influenced about what's going on the outside. And that's what we all talk about creating our lives from the inside out, and not being not about the circumstances, but creating our own circumstances. Our minds, or your mind, is like a vehicle, and if you point wherever you're pointing it, that's where you're going to go. And if you think about problems, lack, or past failures, well, you're going to attract more of the same. And so thinking forward towards your goals, toward your possibilities and solution, that creates the momentum, and that pulls you into higher vibration, which will align you with the success that you're seeking.
Yeah, that's amazing, Paul. I love that. Your mind as a vehicle. I love that. And where are you driving it, right? Are you going in reverse, or are you going forward? And that's a great segue there too, for that poem, because I really wanted to read it. So we'll share it very briefly here.
Yeah.
It's called Forgive. That slight misdeed of yesterday, why should it mar today? The thing he said, the thing you did, have long since passed away. For yesterday was but a trial. Today you will succeed. And from mistakes of yesterday will come some noble deed. Forgive yourself for thoughtlessness. Do not condemn the past, for it is gone with its mistakes. Their memory cannot last. Forget the failures and misdeed. From such experience rise. Why should you let your head be bowed? Let up your heart and eyes. Selected. So, that poem says a lot there. It's basically forgive your past, especially if there's like a lot of negative things you've been bringing to your present. And this is two different ways of thinking. You can focus on the past or focus on the future that you want. And Luz shared something really powerful there. She said, instead of focusing on what was, you want to develop what could be. But also, instead of focus on what was, a lot of us get stuck on what is as well. So it's like different ways of thinking. So this apple, for instance, could be thinking of the past and holding on to all the things that you regret. I'm creating right now. Alicia inspired me. So this is your thinking on all the negative things that held you back, all the things that, oh, they did this to me, they did that to me. Oh, I'm blaming the economy. I'm blaming all these things. I was born with a bad hand and all of this. And this way of thinking, this is an orange. There we go. This orange, which is this orange basically is thinking about where you're going and what you're creating and actually who you really are. So which fruit are you or do you choose? And majority it said here, over 95% people are stuck in the past, and they're stuck on these things that hold them back, and you're bringing it right to your present to hold you back again. And you'll never create the future you want with that type of thinking. So it says right off the top here, you will never obtain any substantial measure of material wealth if you insist upon living your life as if you were looking back through the rear view mirror of your automobile. So that is so visual. I don't have a rear view mirror here in the room, but you're looking back in your life like through a rear view mirror. So you're looking there and you just focusing on it. You don't even see what's going forward. Like physically think about that. If you just look at your rear view mirror and drive like that, you don't even see the windshield driving forward and what's in front of you. That's powerful, and you can run into anything. So you're stuck on what went past you. And it says, stop looking back in your life and worrying about things which have already occurred and which you can no longer alter. So for pursuing that kind of mental activity will never lead to any worthwhile accomplishments in your life. So we're all speaking about the same thing here. So you won't achieve much in your life if you continuously, think like this. This is why this session is so important, because majority of people do it. And let this be an awakening for you to shift that type of thinking. It even said it right now, because life is short and you keep creating it. You're making it stronger, actually. But it's time to break that routine, that paradigm. So, but yeah, there's my props there to kind of tie that. I have some more ideas today. So
I want to talk about your props. Well, first of all, I wanted to mention you were talking about the rear view mirror, and that's why the windshield is so much larger, right? Because ahead of you is so much more than what already has happened. When we talked about, Jamel, you mentioned what is. So it's not just necessarily what has happened in the past, but what is happening right now. So what is happening right now is like a picture, right? It's like a Polaroid. This is what's going on in your mind, which is our results or the effect of our cause. And when Jamel held up the apple or the orange, so holding up the apple, it's what is, right? You're looking at the apple as it is. But think about it. That apple has the potential, and actually can be, apple juice, applesauce, apple pie, apple cider vinegar, whatever else can come. But if you just look at it as just the apple, you're not going to be using your imagination to stretch and go, what else can we do with this apple? And this is where great ideas and great inventions come from, right? Somebody will look at something and say, how can we make this bigger, better, faster, more effective? So talking about the past too, what I have done, and it's been tremendously helpful for me. We talk about perception quite a bit on these calls, and I know Jamel, it's probably one of his favorite mental faculties, as mine as well. And what I have done regarding the past, I have now switched my thinking to what a ride it has been. What an adventure it has been. There's been ups, there's been downs, there's been lefts, there's been rights, there's been round and round and round. But my gosh, how exciting. I simply have shifted the way I think about the past. Because as I get older and I look at life differently, you go through different stages, different chapters in your life. I think for me, I'm now appreciating life so much more than I ever have before. And I was on a call and we were talking about, if this were your last day, I would think about, what would you say? What would you say to your creator? What would you say? And I was saying, I would say, thank you, because I got to experience this life. I was able to feel what it was like to love an animal, love a person, feel a hug, smell the ocean, feel the wind, smell bread baking, hear the birds singing. I got to taste what chocolate was, right? I got to live and experience what it is to love, what it is to hate, what it is to be kind, what it is to be mean, what it is to be compassionate, what it is to not care. I got to experience all these different things during this journey, and I am so grateful for each and every one of those experiences. So I've shifted the way I've looked at the past. Was I a victim? I played the victim. I may have been victimized at some point, maybe when it doesn't even matter. I don't even think, but the point is, I got to experience all these human experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all of it. And that's living a meaningful, purposeful, fulfilling life. And I understand going forward that these things will happen. And it's okay. Now I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I have a better understanding of why, I am creating it. So I have the ability to change that picture. I can take a new picture and start living towards something. I have here, not working towards anything means that you're not looking forward to anything. That was one of the stories out of this chapter about the girl that wanted to go on a cruise ship, right? She kept thinking that she didn't have the money. But once Bob shifted her thinking, that make this a goal that you want to, now she got excited. She didn't know how she was going to get on that cruise ship. She didn't know where the money was going to come from. But once she made the decision she's going to do it, the necessary means came. And then Bob says that him and her mother and father took her to the airport or took her to the cruise dock and saw her off. And he said it was such a wonderful experience to see the glow on her face because all she was focused on was, I can't, instead of, how can I? So this is what this chapter is about, is focusing on how can I? What do I want? What do I want to experience? What do I want to contribute during this journey?
There are so many good points, Lou, that you brought out there. And I do love that story about that girl. But I also going to backtrack a little bit just for a second. I love that analogy that both you and Jamel talked about, the rear view mirror. And the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield because that's not the direction you're going. Right? The windscreen is larger because that's the direction you're going, not the rear view mirror. And and also Lou brought up a really good point. It isn't just the past, but also the present. And the present, your present results are the results of your past thinking. What's happening right now are the results of your past thinking. And so living in the past, keeps you stuck. It's gone. It can't dictate your future unless you give it that power. And so too many people define themselves by old results and failures. And that's reverse thinking traps them in the cycle of repetition. So whatever thoughts you plant, positive or negative, the subconscious accepts and works on. And so that's why focusing on what you don't want, I don't want to be in debt, I don't want to fail, that manifests those very, very things. And it's a great story that Lou brought up about that girl that wanted to go on a cruise. It could be anything that you want. Now, Bob noticed that, this girl, she wasn't as vibrant. Her attitude seemed to shift. She just wasn't in a higher frequency. And it was all about, she didn't have a goal that was getting her excited because she was focusing on, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. But we all have the resources and we all have the potential, and we just have to, work with what we have, what we feel that we have, step forward and with the tools that we have, and then the resources and the circumstances and the people that we need will come. But if we just sort of stay where you are, you just look around and you look at, the current results, and you think about the past and you worry about the future, those new things aren't going to come to you. And so, another thing, like, that Jamel always likes to say, about having faith, believe in the unseen. You have to believe in that unseen thing. That every great inventor believed in something that we didn't currently see, but they saw it in their mind. And so you have to see it in your mind, the thing that you want, and start acting as if you've already achieved that, as if you already have that, and start behaving that way, and start stepping forward with whatever you have, and the resources and the circumstances of people will come to you. Alicia.
Yeah, I was thinking what Jamel read before about forgiveness, because sometimes I think for me is to forgive myself, not to know better at that time I did my mistake, not because I did a mistake or something wrong, because I tell me that I did the best I could with the knowledge and resources and awareness I had. So when I forgive myself, it's not from my mistake, but it's more like, okay, I forgive myself that I didn't know better. Because as you say, Lou, the gratitude about the teachings from all these mistakes, and because when we, at least for me, when I have like something doesn't go as I want, it's because my expectation about how it should be is not matching the reality. And then I say, oh, I have done this mistake, or I have a failure. So, but it's because my expectation say, oh, you should have this, or this should be happen, but it was only my expectation. And I and in everything we do is like a positive and negative. And here is like, if we all have different things in our past that have been difficult, but they also have good things, a lot of teachings there. So I ask myself, like, okay, that happened to me. What did I expected to happen that didn't happen? And what I wanted, and what is the strategy that I created to handle that, to couple with that problem or with that failure or something like that. So the past can help us to, you take the gold from the past and then you create something with the future. But it's when you focus too much in the negative. And here is, I have my prompts here. It's like, you use the past to focus in what is good, not just to go to with a hammer all the time, hammer yourself. It's not that. It's more like teachings. I say, okay, I will learn this, and the other is not to use for as a hammer. It's like, let it go. This is what I think about that. Yes, so I also think like you, Lou. This is an adventure, and the thing is that life is like a school, but in the different way, because at the school you get the lessons and then you go practice. But in life, you practice first and then the lessons come. So, it's like life is life. It's a beautiful party, and sometimes it's boring because there is no merengue or salsa music in that, and then it's boring. I am from Latin America, so it's why I use that. Yeah. So
Wow. I never heard anyone put it that way. That is beautiful, Alicia. That is beautiful. Uh, that sounds like a title of a book. That was beautiful. Speaking of beauty, yeah, Himanshu, Himanshu. Thank you for that, for joining us too. Yeah, just wanted to quickly address that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Appreciation can be seen as a form of prayer, so it's always great to appreciate, right? Um, wow, Alicia, that was amazing. So if you notice, you probably see me a few times drink this, and this is actually like ginger tea and it has honey in it, and it's very good, right? And I'm looking at it, and as everyone's talking, this is me basically seeing what I'm creating, what could be, the desire, right? This is the forward thinking. This is that windshield. And as I saw over here, this is a bottle of wine. All right. So it's red wine, but this is looking back on all the regrets and failures, so-called failures, and things that are negative of your past. And as I look at it, imagine you drink this whole bottle by yourself. You'll be kind of tipsy, or just really drunk, right? So imagine drinking another bottle and another bottle and another bottle of the same wine. You're drunken off the past, and it disorients you when you're bringing the negative to the present. So I was really looking at that, and it's amazing how you're surrounded with so many things. Thank you. Where it'll tell you it's all connected, right? So if you're focusing on drinking this every day, which is focusing on the past negatives and bringing all these things to your present that are not serving you, you continuously get the same result and create the future you do not want. So I wanted to share my screen here because this really put it in perspective on the book here. Let's see if I'm able to do that. Hope so. Because they shared basically the power of looking forward. Where are we? There we go. And they explained it extremely well. Okay, there we go. All right. So here it says, think of the magnificent legacy which these forward-thinking individuals have left for us living today. Due to their formidable efforts, we are now able to enjoy breakfast in Paris, lunch in New York, and dinner in Toronto. And that should say all in the same day, right? We are now able to live our lives in brightness and light 24 hours a day, if we so desire, right? With electricity. We can hear the voice of a loved one on the other side of the ocean merely by pressing some buttons on a telephone. All of these miraculous possibilities and so much more are available to us simply because ordinary human beings like you and me have built extraordinary images on the screen of their minds of things which had never been done before. So really, really think about that. Think about that. And we go on to say here, therefore, regardless of the present circumstances in which you find yourself, clearly understand that if you can build the image of something new in your mind, something that far surpasses anything that has occurred up until now, you have the ability to realize that result in the physical world. So it could not be more clear that all of us have been born rich in the sense of having a magnificent God-given potential, which we owe ourselves to nurture. So important. And we shared this in different ways here. And this is why it's of the utmost importance to tap into. And to tie this home here, it says, this stood out to me, the more that person will become aware of how great he or she truly is, and the more that person becomes aware of his or her own potential, the easier it will be to build images of ideas or things which have never, ever been contemplated up until the present time. Huge. So why do I mention all that? Basically, you're learning more about yourself and who you really are, and how to shift from thinking in reverse to going forward. And the more you do this, the more powerful you become, and the more creative you're tapping into that God-given potential, unlimited potential that we all have. Doesn't matter where you're from or how much money you have, how old you are, your gender. We all have the same gifts, and never forget that. But of course, you want to tap into those gifts, right? So that's why it's important for you to get in touch with one of us, because we want to help you with this. And letting these gifts just go dormant and doing what 95% of people do, stuck in the past, it's difficult to break yourself out of that, repeated pattern. So just want to share a few things there.
I wanted to if you pick up the wine, so an alcoholic person is addicted to what is in the bottle, the alcohol, and that person drink that and it is addicted to that. But we can also be addicted to other things that is not alcohol. We can get addicted to feel ashamed or guilty or afraid all the time. And that is our battle. What is that we want something for the future, but we are addicted to feel the past. That in our battle is not alcohol, but is the past or other feelings that keep us in the potential that we have, that we born rich with. It disappears because our addiction to feel a victim all the time. There is. Or, I had before a client, that person have addiction to feel catastrophic, to think catastrophic all the time. Yeah, but if I do this, then it will be happen this and this, everything was created from the past. And we have these guys, we haven't seen them for many, many weeks, but it's like talking all the time in our in our head, telling us why we're not good enough, why you should not go for that, why you should not go for your dreams, why the past. Oh, you remember 25 years ago that person did that for you, to you, and blah 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 blah, and then you are addicted to the thing. So what happened is then that you are not able to see all the opportunities that we have in the future, just because you're always with the glasses of the past. That I wanted to share what it came to me when you should the wine.
It's an honor. I'm glad it inspired. Yeah.
My head is like,
I wanted to bring up,
sorry.
because many times you'll hear us talk about the negative or positive, but there's also the neutral. The neutral is neither negative or positive. It's being in the just is state of being. What I love about being neutral, it helps me stay present instead of thinking in the past or even thinking forward, because the past can drum up emotions and thinking in the future can drum up anxiety. So if I'm spending my day either thinking of the past or thinking in the future, it's at the expense of right now, this moment right now, which is neutral. And what I love about the neutrality is it doesn't come with a meaning or a story. It just is. And I have learned, I've been, I've trained myself to be very mindful of the it just is. And not to, I try my best not to give something a meaning or a story. It can be challenging because I've done that for decades. I've given things meanings and stories. And then I believe those meanings and stories. And when I have conversations with people or I hear people talking, or when I'm listening to one of my audio books and somebody may be complaining about someone or something, blah, 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 or they're telling their side of a story, or the meaning they're giving this story or this incident, I now ask myself, after they've, explained themselves, now I think to myself, well, if I talk to the other person, what would they say? Because we really get rooted in a belief that we're right. This is how it happened. This is how it is. This is how it was. This is how it should be going forward, blah, blah, blah. But if you were to ask the other person that may be involved in whatever the story may be, you may hear something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And neither is right or wrong. It's just the meaning that they've given the experience. So being neutral is extremely powerful because we hear quite often, I've tried thinking positively. I tried doing that positive thinking, right? Well, if that may be too challenging, try to be neutral. Just be neutral. Don't give something a meaning or a story. Just be present and be neutral and see how that works for you. Because I find it extremely calming. I find it that it really grounds me to not get emotionally connected to a story or an expectation. Because as Alicia was talking about expectations, we always hear, should we expect it or not expect it? Should we say affirmations? Should we not say affirmations? There's always these pros and cons to everything. And with expectations, for me, I do expect it, because if I didn't expect it, then what would be the point? But um, I also desire it, put it out there, and then let go. I try to do my best to let go to the outcome. That's kind of challenging because this is the thing that you want, right? Um, and know that whatever process I'm in right now, even though it may not look like, hey, this is getting me to my goal, I understand this is the process that I'm in right now. And so that really helps me, and maybe that can help one of our listeners out there.
Wow, Lou, I really like that, being neutral. I mean, there's a quote. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Yeah.
And that's right. We assign, this is bad, this is good, and we assign to what degree it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say something, oh, that's terrible. Oh, it's absolutely horrible. And someone else, and Alicia might say, oh, that's not bad. I've had something way worse, and blah, blah, blah. And so and just looking at something as it unfolds, as it happens, after we've attempted something, it just is. And that's a little bit, it's difficult to do. We have to train ourselves to do it, but just looking at something, it just is, just accepting as it is. And there was a chapter earlier on in this book when Lou was speaking, I thought about is let go, like let go and let God. So things just are. And if we don't busy ourselves with assigning a degree of how bad or how good it is, and just accepting what it is and moving on, it does leave you in a much better place, or put you in a much better place of not only neutrality but peace. Really, you feel much more at peace, as Lou was saying, within yourself. And just remember that your subconscious mind, it doesn't judge. So whatever thoughts you are planting, whether they're positive thinking, that subconscious mind accepts and it works on those thoughts. So just like focusing on what you don't want will often manifest those very things, success and wealth and well-being are created by focusing on prosperity and growth and opportunity and possibilities. And so we have to discipline our minds to picture our goal as already being achieved, and whatever is right now, it just is. It doesn't mean, remember, it's our past thinking that brought us to where we are right now. So but that can change, and that can change by our thinking, and it does require some discipline, but we have to get out of that rut. We have to get out of that cage or those shackles or the handcuffs of our past thinking and of our past failures, and forgive ourselves. As Alicia said, forgive ourselves the past. We focus, too much on our failures, but as Lou said, it just is. They just are. And those are lessons from which we can, use to move forward and to step forward into the growth that we're seeking, and to have that goal in mind, and to move towards it regardless of what's happened in the past. Jamel.
Wow, there's so much shared. That's awesome, Paul. That's awesome. Oh, so much shared there. So we talked a lot about how our thinking about the past has been holding us back. There's a particular section where they talk about how to move forward. And I want to share that here to help our viewers, but also to inspire and motivate and shift what has been really, really ingrained in your own thinking process. So this is, like I said, let this be awakening for you. And also a shift that anybody can use. So it says, I feel the time has come for us to free ourselves from these mental shackles of the past. Let us therefore begin this healing process. All right. So by getting in touch with the wide variety of beautiful images which we have the ability to form on the screen of our minds. So then let us begin to actually expect to receive the physical manifestation of each one of these images in our lives. There's nothing you can't have. So what we think about, thoughts become things, right? So you want to get clear on what you really want, and you can have anything you want. You have to believe that. So let's continue here. Remember, if we are able to see ourselves doing, being, or having something on the screen of our conscious minds, right? This is where dreams are built. Everything's created twice, once in the unseen and once in the seen, right? So if we can see that picture on the screen of our conscious minds, then we're able to do, be, or have it on the physical plane of life as well. All right. So you see, the adage is true. What you see is what you get. Therefore, always look forward into the bright future, which lies just ahead of where you currently are situated. So, and it goes on to continue here. Let me make it clear that I'm not referring in this context to things you can actually see with your physical sense of sight. That is looking at what was or what is. I love that, right? Rather, I am referring to your creative inner eye, which enables you to see what can be. This creative inner eye is that magnificent part of your personality which permits you to see into the vast reaches of the creative, non-physical world, right? And this is the ability all of us have. All of us, we're gifted with so many different things. So this is the area where all life begins or originates, in the unseen, right? This is why you have to believe in that. So, and lastly, the past, conversely, is the place where all life ends. But unfortunately, it is also the place where 95% of the people spend 95% of their time, which is sadly also their life. So I wanted that to be a huge awakening for you, to really be aware in a moment when you're stuck in the past and allowing that to dictate where you're going and what you're creating for your life. It talked about the non-physical world. Everything comes from the non-physical world: spirit, intellect, physical. Right? So you want to learn how to utilize that as often as possible, and really tap into your imagination. If you stop using your imagination, it's like not using your right arm anymore, or your left arm, or your hands. You won't be able to use them anymore, right? So your imagination is the gift, and if you're not using it, it becomes weak. But all of us here want to strengthen your imagination to a degree where you see it not only with your naked eye, right, your physical eye, but you also see it on your mental eye, your inner eye. So doing this alone is challenging, but that's why we're all here. You know, you have some really powerful, amazing people here that want what you want, and we can help you see what you want, even if you had some, challenges imagining what you want. I know I'm traveling, but I always make time to speak to somebody that, I can help, because it's not about knowing all this material. It's not about having a wealth of knowledge. It's about changing lives. That's what fulfills me, and I'm sure, it fulfills everybody here as well. So, but it's a choice. Are you going to keep thinking about the past and bring in that, those things you don't want to your present until your dying day? Or it's time to make a shift and tap into the unlimited abundance that's there. So that was a lot. That was a mouthful, but feel free to jump in there with some props or something.
Yeah, I have here.
Oh my God.
Remember that what is already in the past, you cannot do anything about that. You can, and you don't know how much do you have. The only you know is what is in the now. And I wanted to say, when you talk about the loving what it is, I came to my mind Katie, that
Byron
she has
Katie.
a book. Yeah, she has a book, Loving What It Is, and she says that fighting with reality is, you cannot do that, because you always will lose. And also I want to say, Lou, as you say, yeah, we should expect the best. It is when we create a frustration, when what we expect don't match the reality, that creates so much frustration, instead of expect that and knowing that you are going to come to that place one day, if you are using more the your talents and ability, instead of using the past. um, that was I wanted to say.
I wanted to touch upon just really, really quickly on the 333 story. What is they needed to raise $3 million in 3 days? 3 days from then, is
Yeah, in
that
three
what it is?
hours.
And,
Yeah, 3
and,
million
and
in
in
Oh,
three
yeah,
in
hours.
3 hours, 3 days from there. So just for the people that don't know, so there's a quick story about the 333 story, about there was a terrible tornado that ripped through a town, and this gentleman wanted to help the people by creating $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from the time he made this decision. So he brought all his executive team. He operated a couple of radio stations in Ontario, I think it was, in Quebec. And he brought them together to come up with ideas. And on one side of the flip chart, he had the why it cannot be done. And on the other side is why it can be done. And on the cannot side, he had a big X. And every time someone brought up something, why something could not be done, everyone had to shout out, next. And there were some really valid reasons why they believe something could not be done. And perhaps that may be so in your own mind. You may really believe why something may not be able to be done. Just next it and only focus on what can be done. So these group of people, they got into the spirit, into the harmony of creating, coming up with ideas. And of course, they ended up raising $3 million in 3 hours, 3 days from when they conceived the idea. And what I loved about it is, this is in the book, God's way of running the show is exact. Put out good, and good must come back. The gentleman that came up with the idea, I think he was promoted and became he became a president of all communications or something, broadcasting in Canada. But the point is that everything works by law. It's not because I said so, Jamel said so, Alicia said so, Paul said so. Everything works by law. So if it can work for one person, that means it can work for anyone. But you have to make the decision. You have to fall in love with the thing that you truly desire. What do you want? Who do you want to be? What do you want to experience? What is pulling at your heart, and then make the decision and look for all the reasons of how it can be done.
That's a great story, Lou, and I can really relate to that story because that happened an hour north of where I live in Barrie, Ontario, and I remember that happening. So that's a great story. Mm. And I'll just conclude my part here with, faith over fear. Fear is imagination working in reverse. It's using your creative power against yourself, whereas faith is using that same imagination forward. Trusting in the possibilities and the unseen potential. And back to that driving analogy, you cannot drive forward by looking in the rearview mirror. Stop thinking about what you don't want or what has gone wrong, and instead set your thoughts and your sights on what you desire and hold that image and move confidently toward it. Jamel.
This has been such a great coach's corner. Amazing Alicia, amazing Lou, amazing Paul. This is like the Fantastic Four here. This has been such a powerful conversation. And you see what's on the screen. Contact us today. Let's talk about your next step. Because how long are you going to keep creating what you don't want and allow that to stop you from moving forward to what you really want? The lifestyle you want, whatever material thing you want, or even clarity of your own potential. We're all here to help you. So our call links are in the comments or the description or whatever platform that you're viewing us. Click that link, choose a time that works with you, and take that one small step towards the future you really want, and really applying this material to your life. It's a difference between watching and listening and being entertained, but actually really shifting your life and experiencing this and allowing it being a part of you. Mm-hmm. So, the more I learn about this and relearn about it, it shifts my perception. And I know through experience, the more I grow, the more I can help another. And that's the beauty of life. You know, it's amazing. So, like I said, amazing session. You know, catch us next Sunday. Who knows where I'll be traveling to, but I'll probably be home. But this has been great. I'm so grateful to share this beautiful material with everybody, and of course with my amazing colleagues as well. And don't let it stop here. Just don't. We're all begging you. Don't let it stop here. Even if it made you laugh, that's a good thing. But don't let it stop here. All right. Push a simple button, click a link, choose a time, and talk to us. You know, you may not be a good fit, but it's definitely worth finding out, and it's definitely worth having a conversation, because, like I said, it stops here. You'll forever be in the dark. You won't have that flashlight that Alicia had. So we'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye,
Have an
everyone.
amazing, abundant
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
Have a blessed day.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.